Yeah. Someone asked me, I think Eve asked me, she's like, hey, Ichi, your hair is different. Like, and I was like, I'm talking to Jean. Like, do you understand? Do you
I have
understand what's going
no,
on
no,
today?
no. That doesn't fit because if your hair is different, you should be talking to Jacinta. She's the person who knows
Oh,
about fashion and stuff.
okay. But I had to get my act right. I had to get up in the morning, hit the gym, Mukami style, like at 5, make sure like I'm all prepped because of this day. So thank you so much for joining, Jean. I'm so
I,
happy to
I
see you.
appreciate you inviting me.
Okay, so this is the fourth one that we're having in this Wezesha series, which is aptly called Corporate versus Self-Employed. As you know, you and I have talked about this for quite a bit. We've talked
Yes.
about what are the benefits of being corporate employed versus self-employed. So we decided to kick this off because a lot of people have the same question, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, this is the fourth one, and you're sort of like the one who's on tap today. It's going to be a good conversation. So, before we start, like we always do, we're gonna give a shout out to our sponsor, BBI Design Solutions. If you're looking for remodeling, renovation, any sort of housing, new construction or interior design work, please give us a shout out at BBI Design Solutions. That is us. Now, let me get to, I won't even, let me, well, first look at this, right? You are my buddy in Reimagine Wealth. You introduced me to this whole concept of trying to reimagine and rethink the things we know to be true. One
Yes.
of which is corporate employment versus self-employment. So I'll come back to that. In the meantime, I put this notes especially for you, Jean. I
Uh-huh.
said, I'll read verbatim. Today, I'm honored to host
Mm-hmm.
Africa's life coach. You have to think, dream your life,
Mm-hmm.
find your life,
Mm-hmm.
double your life,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to read this, right? I have to read this, but I'll try and be like, I can't get my feelings out as I read this. I'm on cloud 9. Do you remember what you said? I'm on cloud 9. Uh, Jean is my mentor, although she doesn't know it, right? She's my Reimagine Wealth partner. She's an incredible force in the community here and in Kenya and in Africa, right? She's truly the voice of Africa. Beyond all that, she's successfully pivoted from corporate to self-employment and will share her journey with us. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you. I want to share with you that I absolutely receive everything that you have said, just so that I can take it in, because part of me says some of that is not even me. And then the other part says it is. And because you are saying it, I'm going to just go ahead and receive it all.
Please receive it and put a, what do they say? Put a pin on that because I'll come back to why, right?
Yeah.
Why are you hesitating on receiving it?
Yeah.
But before we get started, so I do this with each Wezesha, which is sort of like, it's corporate versus self-employment. So I'm going to give you two words, one versus the other.
Yes.
And I don't want you to think, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want you to contextualize if this, then. I just want you to respond.
Mm-hmm.
As I was thinking of the questions to ask you, it occurred to me that you're a native ATLian. You're not someone who was like us, California, then we came, we saw Thanksgiving, and then we moved to ATL. You are native ATLian.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask you, remember, only one answer here. Okay. 770 or 44?
404 all the way.
All the way. Okay. OTP or ITP?
OTP, but I wish I was ITP. OTP.
OTP. Bankhead or buckhead?
Buckhead all the way.
Okay. So, I moved to ATL in 99. It's almost like 25 years ago. And there's always contention between these two places. So I'm curious to hear your answer here. Franklin Road or Delk Road?
I was in town. Franklin Road, because I had good friends there.
Okay, Franklin Road. There you go.
This is so fun.
Publix or Kroger?
Publix.
What?
Publix.
Man.
It's a public service.
What? Publix?
Publix.
You must live close to those old Krogers that never had anything. These new Krogers are big time, man.
Dude, I went to Kroger and I said I was going to the good Kroger just before Christmas, and I found out that Kroger is Kroger, Publix all the way.
Okay. Okay. And this is perhaps the most important one of all, huh? North Terminal or South Terminal?
South Terminal. I'm a Delta girl.
Delta girl. There you go. Fantastic. Jean, welcome. So let's get started. So a lot of people here before you joined were like, yeah, I know Jean. Jean's my coach. Like they just, and I told them, keep quiet. Jean's going to come and tell us a little bit about herself. So I want to start, just focus on your business, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, what's your core business and who are the clients that you serve?
Yeah, my core business is coaching. Really, it is helping people figure out why they were put on this earth. It is helping folks figure out what their assignment is, because everyone has an assignment. Some people haven't heard that news yet. It is helping people get out of their rat race, helping them see that they might be shackled culturally, and opening them up to the idea that they might be dancing with average, and have been in a dance with average for a long time. I was in a dance with average for 20 years. And that you actually can live a life of possibility.
You know, everything you say scares me so much because, you know, for the rest of you who may not know this, Jean and I were together at Verizon, right? So
yes.
we did the corporate thing, and you pivoted and you left me in corporate, and now I'm still pingued into corporate, right? So when I hear you say shackled culturally, that scares me, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us grew up being told, go to school, finish your education, get a really good job in a company like Verizon, like Google, right? So that when we write your obituary, we can say, oh, yeah, you know, Kamano Isava of Google, you know what I mean? So it's so embedded in us, this cultural thing. So why is it important for people to recognize that they're culturally shackled? And what does that mean?
So you are right that a lot of people have been given a blueprint on how it should be. So many people are living in the career of their parents. Told to go and do this because you might want to be a doctor because that's a one of the prestigious careers. But if you had known that you could cook really well and that you could build an empire like Martha Stewart, you might have been Martha Stewart, right? And so the shackle is that you don't even know that you might be living someone else's dream.
So all this time, you think that you've matured out of something that was embedded in you at a very early age.
Yes.
And it's all around you. And in fact, even like take Africa out of the picture, just the whole thing. Like I see my kids so committed to school, and I hear myself saying the same thing. Okay, go to school, finish school, go to school, finish school, right? Sometimes we don't give them the opportunity to think that they're inside a box that they should get out of. Is that what you're saying?
That is really what it is. Because you're in a box and you don't even know you're in a box. So your kids are in the box with you.
But it's safe, Jean.
Of course it's safe, but it's not fun. They're choking. They don't know what to do with that feeling that is saying, I don't know. They're successful externally and they're getting a lot of accolades. But every morning they wake up and they say, I don't know. And then they say, is this how it's going to be for the rest of my life? And the answer seems to be yes, because that's how it is for the parent for the rest of their lives.
Okay. I'm gonna go with I'm in the train with you, right? But I'm peering out because I'm corporate, right? So I'm not sold yet. Like let's just say that I'm not sold yet. So then let me ask you this: so with corporate, it seems there's predictability, which to your point, people said it's safe. You're in the box, things have been framed out for you. With self-employment with entrepreneurship, from what I've heard from the previous guests, it's not a straight line. It's zigzag. It's full of uncertainty. It's very challenging. It's scary. So why would I choose that, like, path that hasn't been carved for me versus this one that seems like it's been carved well for me? Why?
How can it be safe when companies that I know are announcing 9,000 layoffs in a single week?
Yeah.
How can it be safe when you are feeling unsafe in there? How can it be safe when your manager doesn't speak up for you? Safety is a farce when you're looking at it from the perspective that this job is actually going to keep you in there. A friend of mine said yesterday, and it was the best description of corporate. She has a phenomenal job. And she says, I am a guest in here. It's not my home.
I am a guest in here. You know, when you asked me, hey, where am I joining? I told you, Gene, like, I had a day, right?
Yeah.
So the day started really well. Like I said, I got up early, I did my gym thing, got my hair done. I sort of, everything was going well. Then I had the meeting where we talked performance reviews. Me giving my team reviews, me getting reviews. And one person talked me through how they were feeling after they had been given their performance review. And I thought to myself, my goodness, is this the life that you are living? And it scared me because I know that I've been taught that if you do the right things, then, if this, then in corporate. But to see this person feel this way, and she said something that you said, she did not feel safe. She didn't know whether people were advocating for her in the, in the back office. And so for someone like that who gets to that point where the safety is removed, the certainty is removed, and uncertainty sets in, how do you talk to them about maybe redesigning their life and pivoting into something that's not corporate?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like us to get out of the idea that there's a structure outside of us that makes us feel safe.
Okay.
As I said, how is corporate safe? Let me just go ahead and say, how is entrepreneurship safe when my pipeline is dry? How is entrepreneurship safe when I'm not sure that I'm targeting this right person? How is you can make the case on both sides.
Yeah.
So what I do is I bring you back home. And for people who live in the diaspora, it's a very easy conversation. And some of the folks are here and have heard me say that to them before. And I ask them this question: tell me something. How long have you been in the United States? And they say 20 years, 30 years. And I say, walk me back to the day you left Kenya. What were you thinking about on the plane? That's how I usually find out those types of questions. I take you back to when you were making a major decision to do that thing. And then there's some people, I have clients in Kenya and around the world, and I ask the question, do you remember when you were 5 years old? Okay, maybe not. Maybe you remember 7 years old. What were you thinking about in terms of your career? I couldn't tell anyone I wanted to be Miss Piggy. I was 5 years old, knowing full well that I want to be Miss Piggy when I grow up, but I also knew that I could not tell my teacher that I wanted to be Miss Piggy because I knew the class would laugh and my teacher would think I was crazy.
Yeah.
But I liked Miss Piggy. But when I think about it now, I figured out how to be Piggy. I live in my power like Piggy. I know what I want like Piggy. I say no like Piggy. Sometimes I boss people around like Piggy. Because there is a difference between someone telling you who to be and you choosing. And when you choose, you always align with that source. And you're the only one who knows the source. The source does not come from outside, it's within. And that's why you're doing all these things with your kids. And they're saying, they're saying the box is safe, and they're waking up and they're saying, no. So I work with adults who have lived 20 years, 30 years, 40 years feeling unsafe within. And so what I do is the first thing, let's talk about the fear. And let's talk about what the fear has done to how you think. You stopped making decisions for yourself. Then I ask you, have you ever written a story for yourself of how your life ends? What does it look like on your 99th birthday? Many people can't even imagine that they could be 99. They've never written the story and just said, this is how it's going to go from here to here to here to here. If I have the pen, this is how it goes. But because someone else has the pen has been writing what their story is and not mine.
You know, you said something and I had an epiphany. You said, unsafe within.
Yeah.
And that made me reflect and say, okay, perhaps the safety I'm seeking outside is a proxy for the lack of safety I have inside in my ability to do of myself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, we've been having debates the last 4 weeks about, you know, team corporate versus team self-employment entrepreneurship. And I know this to be true, that I'm seeking safety at work, like, you know, the predictability of the 2 weeks. So I'll accept that. Yes. But I haven't thought that maybe it's because I'm unsafe inside or have feelings of unsafety inside.
Here's the thing. Paul Allen is Bill Gates's partner. They worked together for as long as Bill Gates has owned Microsoft. He's worth $9.2 billion. He has been an employee all his life. He has never been an entrepreneur, right? What is it that can get a man to be an employee for all that time and still make $9.2 billion? It is the innate belief that I can come here and I can get an equity stake in this building, in this company, and I can come out with 9.2 billion without ever having the unpredictability of entrepreneurship. Because that is an inside job. That is an inside job for you to know what you bring to the table to the tune of $9.2 billion. And I just made a case for employment.
I know. Listen, yeah, Catherine is laughing. But we said this a couple of weeks ago. That's a very unique scenario.
Is it?
Where someone in corporate is making that type of money. And what we sort of came up with is the opportunity for you to make that money and not have a ceiling. There's more potential outside of corporate employment than there is within corporate employment. That's still debatable, but the premise being that there's always going to be a cap in corporate. Performance-driven cap. Like, you know, Sundar, my CEO, makes, I don't know, whatever billions, right? Will I ever make that money?
So here's the question. You might not make it at Google, but Gene Adero has created a brand that is called Reimagine Africa.
Yeah.
It also is the home of Read Across Africa.
Yeah.
It is also the home of I Am Africa.
Yeah.
It's also the home of a new endeavor that I call Faida, which I'll talk about later. And I am the idea person. What if you saw me and came to me and said, I like that idea. Could I come and help you build it? I'm your employee. When it makes $90 billion, you might be worth $9.2 billion. But
I am applying for that job, Gene.
Right?
You know, Jane Bukavi said, she actually said something which you're supporting here, which is, it's okay, we still need corporate people. Right. Even the entrepreneurs need corporate people.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit because I worked with you at Verizon.
Yes.
I know how, like, passionate you were about the work you did. Like you really changed people's lives at Verizon, just the whole change management, which is such a big thing that people don't recognize the importance of. Um, but then you switched. And so I'm curious, what triggered that switch? And I'll say this, I'll probably tee this up by saying, research says there's probably four things that do it. Either an opportunity presents itself and you take advantage of it.
Mhm.
You have resources and you're looking for an opportunity. You have all this money, you invest in something. You're passionate about it. There's a purpose-driven thing because you do it over and over again. And then sometimes there's an event that happens, a milestone that happens, event either positive or negative, that then becomes the turning point. I have a fifth one, which I've talked about the last 4 weeks, which is DNA, genes. Like, and we've debated about this. Like some people they have that gene of, I have to be self-employed. So do any of these apply to you, or a combination of these?
Yeah. And actually, I went back. Remember when I said I'm receiving all this?
Yeah.
When we first started?
Yeah.
Because some of it feels like it's me and some of it doesn't.
Yeah.
Let me just go ahead and say I'm learning from all the coaches who are doing the emotional work. And I just had a physical negative reaction to the idea that I was doing well at Verizon.
Wow.
I have this thing, and many African people do this. We know how to put the face. And I had the face, apparently, because apparently you bought it. When I tell you that I didn't know what the heck I was doing in that company, you would not believe it. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know why I was there. I didn't have a mission. I didn't have a personal mission. I wasn't satisfied with my work. I wondered whether this was it. I would fall asleep on the job. Yet, most people who knew me probably believed that I was doing well. I wasn't.
Okay, I have so much to say, but I can't. I'm in shock. So, is this in retrospect, or is that in real time? Were you feeling that way?
It was in real time most of the time, and if you had asked me one word to describe it, it was restless.
Okay.
In other words, I would wake up in the morning and I'd be going to this place, but I was conflicted. When I talk about children having that inner feeling of just feeling like you're sending them to a place where they're asking, is this it? I'm not telling a story. I'm talking about my life. That's how I lived for years and years and years. I lived that way in Kenya High School. I was 12 when I went to Kenya High. I don't know why my mother, I know why I was 12 when I went to Kenya High. I followed my older sister to school when she was going to first grade. That's why I was 12. I should have been an 844. But my sister was going to first grade and I was going to be in the preschool that she was going to be in no matter what, right? But what happened is that I was always emotionally immature. And so I was at Kenya High School when I was 12 years old and I didn't know what the heck was going on. And I was not a candidate for boarding school. But guess what? If I told my parents I didn't want to be in Kenya High School, what do you think they'd say? But you're in a good school.
Yeah.
So I lived like that all my life. Like, if you really ask me, I am 10 years old.
Yeah.
I'm literally living in my life. My life on my own, I'm 10 years old. This confidence that is real now is 10 years old. And I am 52 this year.
Going back, like I hear everything you're saying. And I think that even though you were experiencing it in real time, there's something that occurred in your life or has occurred in your life for you to really reflect on that and be unified with it and say, okay, you know what? And one thing I must say about you, of most of the people I know, actually, I would venture to say all the people I know, your vulnerability about your day-to-day struggles and life and everything is just really admirable. And I think there's a statement you once said, I don't remember what it was, but I think by being so open and honest and transparent with all that, I think something about shame, like you remove the shame from yourself and then you become very clear. Clarity is so important, whether you're team self-employed or team corporate. Clarity is so important and inner alignment with your values and your day-to-day activities. So is that perhaps one of the things that made you pull the trigger to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it was pretty clear. For me, it wasn't even that clear. It wasn't that clear. I left Verizon after a layoff. It was
Okay.
the third layoff in my career.
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine the questioning, why was I laid off the third time? Because people are still working, right? And it was the recession of 2008. It was after the recession of 2008. So I had a reason to be laid off, right? There's so many people laid off because the economy was so bad. So it wasn't you, it was the economy, right? But it took me 14 months to find a new job. Okay. So when it takes you 14 months to find a new job, you start asking yourself, I used to be able to find a job within 1 month. I'd be laid off and then I'd find a job within 1 month. If I decided I wanted to get a new job, it'd be like 3 weeks, I've got a new job and I move on. But what is it about me right now that is not hireable? And that question is the one that started me on this path of questioning, how is it that I have always felt this uncertainty? I felt it in primary school. I felt it in high school. I felt it in college, not so much because I was really cared for. I went to an HBCU, and in HBCUs, the professors really care for you. And so in college, not so much, because those were the best years of my life. And then I came out into the mean world, and now here I was again in that situation that I had been in. But now I had to ask the question. And because the fall was so big, in 14 months in a terrible economy, you will go through your savings, you will go through any other money that you might have, you will go through your 401k, you will go through, like, literally, because there are things that must happen and you're always taking these bets. And as I kept losing and losing and losing, I had to take a job which paid me the same amount that I was paid when I left college. But the problem is I had grown lady bills.
Yeah.
And therefore, I had to start asking the question, am I built for corporate? Because I keep failing so badly. And that is the thing that you're asking about. At what point do you make the decision? At that point, it's just a question. You don't know where you're going to go, because guess what? My mother worked at the United Nations for 21 years. Before that, she had all corporate jobs, Pfizer, Price Waterhouse. Like, she worked jobs. My father was a civil servant, always worked jobs. I had never seen a successful entrepreneur in my life. So how dare I become a successful entrepreneur? How do I, not even a successful entrepreneur, an entrepreneur who doesn't even know what they're doing? I couldn't do that because my blueprint and my internal roadmap matches my parents, and I don't know any other way to do it differently.
I don't know any other way. And I think it's interesting because if you ask people, they'd say Kenya is full of entrepreneurs, right?
Yep.
People doing side biashara or whatever, right? But then you come to the US, and we'll talk about this next week with Carl. He's from Jamaica, and this is something he's so passionate about. He said, you come into the US and you don't have someone to look up to who's done something that you think you could do, right?
Yeah.
And so people like you coming and joining this conversation then inspires other people to say, okay, look, she's doing it. Maybe I need to think outside this corporate box, and maybe I need to consider being self-employed and being an entrepreneur. But then, since I'm so comfortable in corporate,
yes,
why should I, you know me, 30 years, like, I don't think I've worked, I was thinking about this the other day. I finished strat, like, with a class of 91, old guy, yeah, and then got the results, whatever, December. I walked across to Strathmore College January 1992.
Uh-huh.
So from 1992 all the way to when, whatever, 2024, I don't know how many those years are, right? Apart from the 6 or 7 months we were in Campo, a
Yeah.
shout out to KIA, Loakabete, BCom. I was there for 1 year, then lecturers went on strike, right?
Yes.
So apart from that 1 year, I have worked every single day of my life. Like I'm like this. I don't know anything different until I met you and started meeting other people, and they're like, wow, there's a life outside of this. And then and then and then you said something profound, and I want you to share it with the people here. Maybe some of them have heard. I think you said something like, when you're in Verizon, you met this African guy who's just running rounds around all the people at work. And you're like, you're so smart. Why are you here? Tell us that story.
Who was I talking about?
I don't know. I remember you saying there was this African guy you met who was so smart, and you couldn't understand, like, you were so taken by him, how smart he was, and yet he was in corporate, and he wasn't like in a leadership position or anything. I know I didn't dream up this story.
I can't think about who that might have been, but I get that. I kept getting that feeling.
Yeah.
During that period of my life, I used to think that I was jealous of people.
Yeah.
I thought I was envious because I'd meet these people who are so smart, and then they'd get these promotions, and then I wouldn't be impressed. And that's where I used to meet those smart people. They'd get promoted, then I was like, I'm not impressed by their promotion.
There's that, yes, Jean, there's that, but there's this other one, which the reason I bring this up is that someone told me that the other day too. They said, okay, wait, why are you wasting your energy and your intellect in this when you could be investing it in yourself outside?
Yeah.
And same, I thought I was envious, but so there's something to be said about, for those of us who are team corporate, to say, okay, yes, you can continue investing all your energy into this company, and that's fine. But perhaps you need to think about taking all that investment and investing in yourself.
Yeah, and it's kind of, and if I'm sure I told you that story because I tell a whole lot of stories about things that come to me when I'm having these amazing conversations with amazing people. But I think what was happening with me in that kind of situation is, it's not that you're in corporate, it's that I can see that you're in the wrong job.
Okay.
The question is, can you see that you are in the wrong job? And it's just not the job for you. It's like, you are so brilliant, because I find African people so brilliant. And I'm constantly saying, I know you're smarter than your boss.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes.
I know you're smarter than your boss. But it's that I came into America. Remember, I came into America and I climbed up the ranks. And I'm not counting that part of the reason I had to start from the bottom is because maybe I had a degree from Nairobi University and nobody recognized it. So I couldn't seem to get a job in the places that I thought, because I didn't even know how to speak the language. You're not thinking about the reason why you started so low and that you're smarter than your boss, but you don't see it. You can't see it.
Catherine says she's smarter than her boss.
By the way, do you know I've known Catherine all my life? Like since preschool, maybe.
All right. So now you're figuring things out. You're retrospecting on your life. You're trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to maximize who I am today? And then you start running the business.
I don't start running the business. It's not that quick. I have to tell you that there was a season in my life where I was doing this job where I was making what I was making in college.
Okay.
And I did it for a little bit because I couldn't move because of the fear of it. And then one day I was in there and I something switched and I realized I was being disrespected because of the level of job that I had.
Okay.
But here's the one thing that you've got to understand. When things fall, you don't just make a switch. There's an emotional thing that's going on that many of us like to pretend doesn't exist. Like the time between the fall and the time between and the get up. You've got to understand that there's emotional things happening here. And during this time, a lot of us tend to just go ahead and accept whatever is and make it work, right? And then one day something happens and you realize this is disrespect. I am being overlooked. And I actually quit a job for the first time in my life. And I said, how bad can it be? Helen Adero had 6 kids and it was kind of difficult. I don't have any kids. I can eat cereal. That was the decision I made. I literally walked out at noon in the middle of the day. I went to HR and I said, here's your credit card. Here are your keys. Here's your computer. Bye. I'm not coming back. And that for me was the first day that I started feeling a sense of freedom. And the way God works, as I was driving home, I stopped at a light and my phone beeped. And someone had written me asking me if I was interested in interviewing for a job. Whereas it had been radio silent before. That was my glimmer that I have something going on. So by the time I started interviewing for jobs and I got into another corporate job, but as a contractor, and I was given the space to practice who I wanted to be, I hired and I started working on myself, right? So it took me a few years before I became an entrepreneur.
So this is very consistent with what Leo said, what Mokami said, what Monga said, which is perhaps a switch happens. Let's assume like the switch happens, but it's very prudent of you to start that step down function. Like, okay, it's happened. Now I know what I need to do. Let me be very strategic to the extent that I can be, right? I'm not just going to drop this job and start looking like, okay, let me start planning it out. Let me plan my entry into entrepreneurship, something like that. Is that somehow how it worked with you?
I wish I was that organized.
So tell me.
I was that organized.
So now you've come to terms with who you are. You've come to terms that, you're being disrespected. You've come to terms with the fact that a step function change needs to happen. So tell me about that mentality then, and what were you seeking at that time? I don't know if Nancy's here, but one of the questions she asked was bootstrap versus acquiring. Like, were you starting to explore what kind of businesses you're going to have? Did you do that exercise? No?
I went to find another corporate job.
Jean, you're supposed to be team entrepreneur, but you keep coming to my side. Like,
here's the thing. When I tell you guys about shackles, I don't talk about shackles because I've heard about shackles. I tell you about shackles because I lived in shackles. I'm not telling you about things I don't know. I am actually speaking to you from my personal lived experience. Like, for real. These are things, people don't just jump out. You cannot have 2 parents who worked 9 to 5 and came home and sat down and made it work. And then you go in and they encourage you to go out and get a good job. And then you tell, if someone in your family quits the job, you say, how dare you leave that good job?
Yeah.
And you will not switch into entrepreneurship overnight. You must. The blueprint is that you will go and look for another good job in corporate. And then I found that other good job. And guess what? I met myself again. Only this time I was making way more money.
Okay.
I was still restless. But now I was making more money. I had more responsibilities. I was exposed to a lot of different things, but I was still restless. I had the office where people would come and shut the door and they say, hey, can you talk? And so they'd come into my office and everybody who would come to me was talking to, basically it was like I was a magnet for people who knew that they were restless. Right?
Okay. Then what?
And after that, I stayed there for a while and I just happened upon coaching. I went to this seminar and I was around entrepreneurs. And I remember one day I went to this event. It used to be called the Awesomeness Fest. And I remember when I was going to the Awesomeness Fest, I couldn't even tell my family I was going to the Awesomeness Fest because I was like, they might think I'm going to become a hippie. But I saw this space I see my sisters laughing. I saw this space online, and I was working with a coach, and I was looking for this specific coach. As most of you know, that I'm a Lisa Nichols certified trainer. And at the time, I wanted to work with her so bad. And I knew she was expensive. And I was like, where is she? Where can I find her? So I go to Costa Rica to the Awesomeness Fest. But before I go, I see their ad. And I remember looking at it, and it was so magical, so alive. These people were so amazing. And I said, these are my people. Okay. I left Atlanta, Georgia, to go to Costa Rica on a plane. And I really didn't have it like that. And I went to this retreat, and I said, worst case scenario, I'm going to have a nice vacation, because I knew it was a Western property, but those were my people. And when you find your people, pay attention. Pay attention. And that was the beginning of the shift. I came back. I still didn't know I wanted to be in entrepreneurship, because I was at the time the founder of Read Across Africa. And so I thought that I was going to raise funds for these people who have had challenges. It still didn't hit me. And as I was doing that, our first student gets 400 points in KCPE. No running water, no electricity. And I'm like, oh my God, what has happened here? And at the time, Safaricom Foundation, they have a school, and he's interviewed. And I'm like, this is the best of the best. He didn't make it into that school, but he went to Miranda High School. And during that period, I was like, I wonder if corporate leaders are ready for Alan. Because he has something. Remember, no running water, no electricity, 406 points in KCPE. The highest that year had 430 points. So I'm like, something is going on here. And when I tell you to pay attention, that is the time when entrepreneurship started getting into my head. And I said, let me see if I can talk to corporate leaders in Kenya to see if they know that Alan exists. I started, when I get to Kenya, I'd be like, hey, do you know anyone who's a CEO? And they'd say, yeah, talk to this person. And I'd go and speak to them. And I started finding out that most leaders do not have a plan for Alan, leave alone for themselves.
Yeah.
And at that point, I knew I had work to do. I didn't know what it was, but I was going to, at least I was willing to take the steps to start coaching people. Because at this point, I knew in my heart that I was going to reignite the light in children who have grown up in a culture of underachievement. And that was what I knew my mission was. And now I had reignited the light in Alan. But I knew that Alan believed me that his education would be taken care of. It ends well. Alan is in the university studying aeronautic engineering. Right? So I wanted to know that there is someone who is thinking about Alan, that there's someone who's thinking about Ruth, who is in the University of Nairobi studying law. There's someone who is thinking about Davis, who is at Kenyatta University studying architecture. There's someone, and I can go on, we have 15 of these kids in 3 years. So at that point, when I say, and I can go backwards, because you can only connect the dots going backwards. That light that was ignited when Alan was going to high school was the catalyst to my change. So what do I tell people? Stay on the path. The light is going to turn on. Stay on the path. That light is going to come on.
I knew there's a reason I woke up early today, went to the gym, freshened up, and came, because this is like, I was telling Leo yesterday, I texted him, we're discussing some other things and blah, blah, blah. And I said, that's where I belong. Like you see these places and spaces, and you say, that right there is where I belong. And one of the things that I've learned over the last 4 weeks is this. Mm-hmm. Yes, I hear everything you're saying. I hear the passion, the desire you have to do good for all these people. And I've known it for a long time. I've known you over 20 years, mm-hmm. right? And, from the books, like it's in you. Like, I'm not even, now here's the question. And here's mm-hmm. where the rubber meets the road. Monga said last time, I wish her quote is somewhere here, but it was something like, if it's not making money, it's a hobby, something like that, right? If you're not making money with it, then it's a hobby. So this is the central question that a lot of people have. which is you can be passionate about a lot of things. You can spend a lot of time doing these things that you feel are fulfilling your purpose. But self-employment and entrepreneurship is a business. You have to make money. So how do you, like running a business, how do you run this coaching business of yours?
So something that you start with the heart, I'm going to have to go back to Monga's quote because it makes sense. And she's speaking from her head, right? And I believe that if Monga speaks from her head and her heart, she will know that there are going to be times when she's not making money and she is in the right place. The two of them can coexist. And Nancy Macharia is here. I saw her. There was a time she and I had a conversation and she told me how much she had spent on the business before it got profitable. And I couldn't even tell anybody. She didn't even have to tell me, keep this as a secret. I couldn't tell anyone how much she had spent because I knew this was a passion.
Okay. And
the passion is fine. You've got to figure out how to run the business of it. So it's okay to start a business with your heart. Many people have started businesses with their hearts. Enter Oprah Winfrey. That was her heart. It felt like a job, but what she was doing was heart-led, right? You've got to feel that there's something that fuels you. That is heart. But then it's a dance. It's a dance. So how do you run the business of coaching? For me, I just came on one day and said, hey guys, I'm having a tea party. Come over to my house. We'll have tea. They came. I was in corporate at the time. I didn't intend to start the business. And then at the end, I heard Joanne saying, so what are we going to do after this? And I was like, you'll go home.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we stayed, Catherine Adero was at my house until 6 a.m. That's how good the conversation was that day, right? But what are we going to do? That next year, January 2019, I started a mastermind and I'd meet on Zoom. I didn't even know how to use the Zoom. I used to use Zoom to hang out with my friends who I met in Costa Rica. That's what Zoom's purpose was. We'd be like, let's have coffee. And we'd log on to a Zoom and they'd have Zoom, but I didn't even know what that was. And I started running this thing where we would read this book and we'd have discussions about it. And then eventually some people were like upset and they were like, how do we enter this thing? And I started saying, okay, I'll charge you. And I had a Cash App and a Hotmail. That's how I started this thing. And there are many people who have paid me on Cash App and Hotmail. So I told you I wished I was that organized. I just am not. Every single thing I have done is heart up until this point. And so I have been inviting people in. I show up on Facebook Live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning, except January 2024. I decided to give myself a break. I'll be back on February 1st. Thursday, February 1st, I'll come back on Facebook Live. I started having these conversations. Many people laugh at me. I know that they are laughing, but I'm like, wait until one day you fall. You will hear me. And many people have come to my class and told me that they used to laugh. Many people have come to my class and they told me that, how can Jean teach us anything? She was bankrupt. They have been my students and I have taught them how to do well. That is all heart. That was not business. Now, I've got to become profitable. And for me, this is the point where I now know that I can blow up. I finally know that I can blow up because I have actually figured out what I'm doing. I'm coaching, right? I have products that I could sell. And now I have a CRM, which is the back office of any business, right? Why did I get the back office of business? Because I know my pain. How do I organize this thing? How do I organize this thing? And I was asking people, and the tech cost is what will kill any business. Between, you say, okay, I'm going to run my business on Zoom. Then you're on Zoom. Then one day Zoom tells you, take out all your videos or pay me $300 a month. So you're like, oh, let me go and find a place to go and put my videos. You pay $300 for Vimeo. Then you get a site. You're like, oh, the domain costs $1 a month. Then they're like, you need security and you also need blah, 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 and all this. It's now $100 a month. So the tech stack is very expensive. And I had to start asking myself, how does a business run? Any business run How do I get all my leads in one place? How do I get all this in one place? And finally, I have found a path, and I believe that I can blow up. Could I talk to people and tell them to come to my class? Yes. But now I need to get outside. If you're going to call yourself Africa's life coach, you better be in 55 countries. So now it is time for me to find a system that can allow me to do that. And I found one.
Let your heart lead you.
Let your heart lead you.
And somewhere like, and it's so difficult to have that faith that all will be somewhere, all will be well. But let me tell you the strength of faith. Let me not tell you, I'll show you what the strength of faith is.
Love it.
That right there. So how many of you have had Oprah call your name? Like anyone, raise your hand if Oprah has
that was a faith moment.
You. That right there, Jean, like all of us can go to our friends and frenemies and say, yeah, I know someone who like knows Oprah.
We're not that cool. It's hilarious. But let me show you where it started. Check this out. What is this? It's a photo of Lisa Nichols and Oprah Winfrey. Right?
Yeah.
It's a photo of Lisa Nichols and Oprah Winfrey. This is what I did. I sincerely believe that you can imagine anything into existence. The reason why I haven't imagined everything into existence is because of my conditioning. Right? There are certain parts of me that's still stuck in culture, so I can't seem to. Right? Now, in 2017, I was in Lisa Nichols' class, and she went to the Essence. There's this ceremony they have before the Oscars.
Okay.
And she took a picture with Oprah. And I said to Lisa, I said, hey, you know that picture on your Facebook page with Oprah? I'm going to frame it because now I'm 1 degree of separation from Oprah. And then, of course, if you look behind me, there she is. Right? And I believe these people I have behind me are people who inspired me. Right? And so when I did that, I kept saying, one day I'll do something with her. But every year, I've never written it down. But somehow I wrote it down last year. And so when her producer called me, I almost passed out.
Do you believe in fate? That
Absolutely.
you can dream it, like you can dream it and actualize it?
All the time.
Okay.
That's the foundation of what I teach. Write your vision and make it plain on tablets so that anyone who sees it can run with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this has come up a number of times, and you and I have talked a little bit about this. So now you're in the groove. People believe in what you're saying, but I'm sure sometimes you think, man, do they know that I don't know what I'm talking about? AKA imposter phenomenon. Tell me how you overcome that.
That's easy. Anytime you're feeling like an imposter, you are relying on your own strength. It's very easy for me.
Tell me more. Tell me more about it, because I struggle with that. A lot of people struggle with that. How do you come to terms with it? What do you tell yourself when you experience it?
There's a knowing. You have to know that God runs this thing. And I'm not just saying know it on the surface. You have to know that God runs this thing. The only way you can live knowing, because some people know, the only way your knowing and the action can align, where you say, I know God runs this and I'm going to believe it and I'm going to act like this, is if you know what your definite assignment on this earth is. As long as you don't know completely, you are going to think that you're in charge of something. And when you think you're in charge of something, you must feel like an imposter.
Do you know what your definite assignment is?
I do, for sure.
How would you summarize what's your assignment? Like, if someone asked you, why did God put you here on this earth? What would you say?
God put me on this earth to tell you that you don't have to be in a rat race. You don't have to be shackled by culture. You never have to dance with average. And you can live a life that is so big, you won't even believe it. I know that for a fact. If I was given a megaphone, that's what I would say. If I was one of those people in the streets of Nairobi with a microphone that pollutes the streets with noise, that's what I would be saying.
Jane, I know a lot of people will probably get off the mic to ask you questions, but before they do, I'll tell you something that has come up from a lot of corporate folks over the last 3 weeks. And it was also mentioned by entrepreneurs, which is how, and maybe you've touched on this with the CRM, the whole technical skill growth and development. Like, you're learning more things that you can do. Okay, I can do product. Maybe I can learn about CRM and figure out. So there is an element of intentionality in the growth that you have to do, because at some point you have to scale your business. You've been very transparent about, the struggle of pivoting and, the continued shackle that I experienced and that you've experienced. Let's talk about you personally, and how do you then manage stress and maintain your well-being, even as you go through all of this day to day, being an entrepreneur?
So just so that you know, and when we talk about stress, I'm actually going through it right now.
Okay.
Right? There are parts of my business that are just, it's almost like I don't even know how this survives. Right? Okay. How I don't know what direction to go. I sit at my desk and I'm not sure. Is this where I'm supposed to go? Because it looks so bad. Right? So when you're asking me about stress, I'm going to be speaking on something that I'm actively doing, right? Okay. So I created a process, a morning routine, and I called it, I have what I call the Daily Soul Chat, and I sell these on Amazon, and they're journals, right? And what I did is, after I knew that meditation was a thing, I knew that prayer, a quiet time is a thing, so I put it all together. And what a lady in my class came in, and once she said that I get an affirmation from a poem, from scripture, from wherever, just one sentence that will guide my life during this season.
Okay.
You take that one thing, and for me, I took scripture, and for me right now, it's Psalm 1:3. He is like a tree planted by the water, bearing fruit in season. His leaves never wither. He succeeds in everything. Okay? That is counter what I am living. Okay. So right now, he succeeds in everything does not make sense in my world. So I know that requires faith, and I have to know my identity. My identity is that I am a tree planted by the waterside. I bear fruit in season. This might not be the season, but my leaves have not withered. That means the tree is still being fed, because the trees are fed from the leaves. And I succeed at everything. So what I see physically is not real. What my imagination, the eyes of my heart says, is what I must believe. The eyes of my heart is saying that I succeed in everything. So every morning I write it down, and everywhere it says he, I go ahead and put my name in it, so that when I read it, it makes my heart feel something, right? Immediately after that, I write down what that means for me today. And once I'm done with that, I thank God for things that have happened, like my breath, I am awake today. But I also thank God for the success that's coming to me. And I write it like this: my CRM blew up, and I have hundreds of thousands of dollars. I might have $0 in the bank, but that's how it looks in my journal on the So guess what? I am calling things that are not as if they are. Then guess what I do after that? I bless somebody who bothers me. If I have felt any tinge of envy, if I have felt any tinge of anything, I bless those folks. And sometimes I bless myself. And once I have done that, I affirm that I am love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Most of the time, I'm not feeling any of those things. But what happens when I actualize all these thoughts? I have a sentence that says, I will because.
Okay.
Okay? For my business, frequently it says, today I will do this, one action that brings my business forward because it will help me succeed in everything. So that I am attaching the action with the spirit. That's where a lot of us go wrong. My actions must align with my spirit. My actions and my habits must align with my spirit. And I'm going to say that again. You can pray all day, but if your actions and your habits are not aligned with your spirit, you have a disconnect, because this universe is designed with laws. There's something called the law of cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So that's what we're dealing with. And once I'm done with that, I sit in stillness. I have written a story of how my life ends, and I listen to it. And then once I'm done, I sit in stillness to see what I hear for that day. And sometimes God says, girl, you've got it going on. And sometimes God says, get your habits and your actions aligned. But
let your habits
and action
and habits must align with your spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone who's been on this journey with us the last 4 weeks knows that I can stay with this mic forever.
We love talking.
We love talking. Folks, you have Jean over here in front of you. Some of you may have questions about her coaching. For sure, I'll moderate that because I don't want her to feel like we invited her so she can talk about her coaching. But ask away. What questions do you have, especially about the struggle and the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship? And if you don't ask us, guys, we'll talk. Gina and I can talk forever.
I know.
Happiness. We'll start talking money, wealth. So you.
And the thing with me, I'm very comfortable in awkward silence too. Yeah. So I can just sit here and look at their pictures.
We'll look at the names and call out. I know some of these people. You know them.
I know them. I can see my sister, and I'm shocked that she got here because I told her that there is a recording. She didn't have to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Or what time is it? 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I know my other sister won't say a word. She won't ask me a question, so I won't even bother there. I can see some of them. How do I don't know how to advance to all the pages because, I'm a Zoom girl.
What do you mean? Like just scroll down? Just scroll down? Yeah. So it's depending on the view you have.
I think it's the view that I have. It's the view that I have. No, I can see Lynn because I missed Lynn yesterday. And Lynn knows which one I'm talking about. Lynn knows which Lynn I'm talking about. No. I don't want to put them on the spot. You know who I'd pick up is Catherine Adero because she's the one with all the comments.
Catherine, say something.
Wololo. I always start like that. Let me tell you. I have known Jean, and Jean is going to give me, she's like the Oscars where she's going to try and time me. But let me tell you, every time I listen to Jean, and Jean is my childhood friend, my person in primary school, and there's just something so authentic. Jean, do you remember your Honda Civic? Was it a Honda Civic?
Yes. By the way, it's still running.
I love it. I always used to say if I could jumpstart this car, I would go away with it, but that would be theft. But one of the things I wanted to say, Jean, is that every single encounter with you and all the community you have built, and the reason why I was commenting is because I'm hoping that I can go back to the comment section and remember all this stuff. You brought a community together when you did not know there was a village that you were building.
I didn't know.
And I'll speak to myself. For myself, I was in a closet trying to figure out a way. And one of the things that you said was that when are you going to stop dancing with, what did you say, with average?
Mhm.
And I'm like, who are you to tell me about average? And then you also said, and you know, Marianne and Rose and everyone else, I know you all. But in addition to that, one of the things that I bought into as you were still figuring out what your dream was going to be with Read Across Africa. When I
Mhm.
say Miranda, I was a teacher at Loac, so I know Miranda really well. So when you talk about Miranda and where he knew the people, the world wasn't ready for Alan and all that stuff, one of the things that I go back to is what is our very core. And I told my child today, this morning, he had this tooth extraction. So I told my son, who is 9, the universe conspires to give you what it is that you need to do, but you have to magnetize this. And you know what he said? I'm going to magnetize that my tooth extraction is going to go well, even when I'm afraid of pain, but it's going to happen. Guess who was the one who was afraid? Me. So, as you teach us, Jean, this is a conscious thing that we have to continue doing. But with my son, who has the pure belief in that aspect of what they are supposed to, what the universe will conspire, what you and Dr. Isha, sorry, this is
Difficult
the
for us.
Nilot.
It's very
Yes,
difficult for us, Nilo.
yes. And that's the thing where how do we continue having that faith to the point where, and this is what you used to say, Jean, remember? You used to tell me, when is your time going to come? And I think of it as that Honda Civic, that you were always proud of it because it got you from point A to B. But you used to say that the Honda Civic is not my future. What is it that we need to do about that external stuff? But now you started looking at your internal stuff. So I am telling you that I am sitting in my room. I told my kids, do something else because mommy has to learn again and again and again. I am so inspired. The reason why I put all those things into the chat is because you talked about the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you talked about it as a matter of fear.
Yeah.
You remember what you told me when every time we kept on saying the imposter syndrome, and then what did you say, Jean?
I can't remember. You guys put me on the spot. I say a lot of things every
You
day.
say a lot of things, but let me tell you, you got us out of all that stuff because you remember what it is. If you don't remember, paraphrase it.
I just said it. I said imposter syndrome was you basically thinking that you run something.
Yes. And when I talked to you once, what did you tell me? Catherine, that's your ego. And I'm like, what do you mean, girl? You told me that's your ego. Go sit with it for a while and then come back to me. And
Catherine,
we never have it couched that way.
what is interesting is Rose is asking the same question. She's like, did I ever have imposter syndrome? I was a whole imposter since primary school. Like I was an imposter. Nobody told me who I really was.
Why you?
Yeah. All that bravado. And I mean, I was always so mushy in the inside, but I put on the face. Imposter syndrome is like literally you're afraid someone's gonna find out that you're not who you are, who you say you are. And I was afraid that people would find out that I was scared. People would find out that I didn't know what came next. I was afraid that I wouldn't pass. I was afraid that I'd fail. I mean, there was all kinds of things, but because I knew how to put that facade on, I just walked around with it for all my life. Right? So I think, I feel like, look at Catherine is saying she would never have guessed it. But yes, I felt imposter syndrome. And Rose was asking, did I feel it? Yes, I did. It became me. And from a lot of people, and the reason why I don't really like talking about imposter syndrome is because now people have a name for it and they are claiming it as an identity.
Yeah.
Saying your identity is spirit. It's not that. And I love that. I remember the first time I heard it, it was Wes Moore, who's the governor of Maryland now. That was 13 years ago. Wes Moore was talking to Oprah, and that was the very first time I I found out what imposter syndrome was. And I wrote about it in my blog. If you remember, there was once upon a time I was a blogger in 2008, 2007. I was a blogger. And I remember writing about imposter syndrome. And I remember taking it. And the reason why I like the label is because it tells you that you're not crazy.
Yeah.
You've been feeling this thing and this thing is real. The reason why I do not like the label is because people are now saying, I have imposter syndrome. Guess what? You must get it. Even if you had a little, you're now going to get a lot. Because now we are owning it as a badge and talking about it. There's always going to be a level where you are starting something new and you don't know what it is. Diana and I just had a conversation for about an hour about the new CRM that we are working on, right? There's a lot of uncertainty right now, but I'm not going to claim imposter syndrome around it. You know what the heck I'm doing with it, right? In the way that a professional would know. But I know what steps to take, and I'll just keep taking the steps until I get there. So that's the thing with imposter syndrome. Let's call it. It's good that you know you're not crazy, but leave it alone. What you focus on grows. And imposter syndrome is that just feeling of, oh, people are going to find out I know nothing. And then what? Then you'll know nothing and you'll start learning something.
You know, it's interesting when Catherine said you once said imposter syndrome is your ego. So one of the authorities on imposter syndrome, like he teaches this in school, and he talked to Shankar Vedantam in Hidden Brain, and he said he teaches it and he feels it.
You must feel it.
He feels it. And so what he does is he Googles himself every day. He puts his name, search, and he sees all the accomplishments that he's had. And he's like, whew, I guess I know what I'm talking about, right? And I guess that is actually it, is the ego. I think separating yourself from what is the reality of, am I qualified to do this, versus what if people think that I'm not as smart as I'm saying that I'm smart? That's ego. Like, leave it alone. And Christine asked this question. She asked, did you ever actually feel imposter syndrome after you transitioned to entrepreneurship? And I'm hearing you say, whether I was in corporate or entrepreneurship, it existed. Now the question is, what did I do?
What did I do with it?
What did I do with it? So it's whether you're in corporate or self-employment, you are not immune to that feeling of imposter syndrome.
I believe it is just a natural feeling of humanity.
Yeah.
I just don't know this. You can't know it. You've never done it before.
Yeah.
How do you know it? You've never done it before. You've never walked this whole journey. The one thing that I know for sure is the CRM is changing the back end of my business. I know where my contacts are. When they come from Facebook, I know where they are. When I want a reputation review written, I know how to send it out. When I want to do a sequence of how emails will go out, I know where it is. But if you ask me, do I know how to do it for 400 people? Absolutely not. I've never done it before. And so I feel sometimes like, what are you going to do when a client pays you money and you don't know how to do it? I'll probably fall and then I'll fix it.
So I'm hearing you say this and I'm getting a headache, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, because for me, things have to make sense.
Yeah.
I have to sit down, map it out. Like I've told you this.
Yes.
The best thing that ever happened to me and most men is GPS. Turn right, turn left, turn right, turn left. 500 yards, turn right, right? Like this abstract thing and thinking, it's just a lot of work. So even some people have said that part of being self-employed and entrepreneurs is the thrill of uncertainty. Do you feel the thrill of uncertainty?
No, I feel the torture of uncertainty.
So it's okay, some people feel torture, so it's not everyone who feels the thrill.
No, I am currently feeling the torture of uncertainty. But here's what I'm going to give you. I'll give you a solution so that you're not thinking that you just stay in the uncertainty and you're just comfortable. There's always something. Let me go ahead and share with you. Uncertainty is the reliance on your five senses. The Bible calls that a carnal mind. A carnal mind is a mind that relies on five senses. Okay? The spiritual mind is the one that relies on what it cannot see, touch, taste, whatever the other senses are. And what you use in that, when you're not relying on your five senses, you start to say, I'm going to rely on my imagination.
Yeah.
I choose how to see this in the future. I'm going to rely on perception. If I said to you, what color is this book? You'd say black, right? And then I'd be like, I'd argue with you up and down that it's not black. Why? Because the other side has colors. That's perception. You've got to pay attention and see that there are many sides to things. So right now, even as terrible as this is, when I'm sitting in this space where I'm figuring a few things out and I feel the torture of it, from time to time in the middle of my day, I turn the book the other way so I can see the other side. That's perception. And these are intellectual faculties, so that you're not relying on your senses only. Then you just say, you know what? I have the ability to think. You have the gift of reason. So you can sit down with a problem and say, what are the ways this problem gets solved? And you can come up with scenarios of how it gets solved and then decide to take one of them as the solution and watch that solution be the one. That is called thinking. And by the way, when I say reason, I'm not talking about that thought where you're like, where are my keys? I wonder if my children have come home. That is called brain activity. There's a difference between thinking and brain activity.
You know, you said something, you just made me another aha moment. So there's this thing called Rubens vase that you use in psychology to kind of give the, okay, two things can coexist. So a lot of people will look at this, and you can do show of hands or just think to yourself, what do you see? So maybe like Jean, what do you see? What's the first thing you see in this?
I saw the vase.
You see the vase, right? The black vase, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing I always see all the time. And then when I look closely, I see the two white faces on each side, right? And some of you maybe looked at it and saw the two white faces and didn't see the vase. Some of you saw the black vase and didn't see the two white faces. By the way, is it vase or vase?
And I was saying, we are so sophisticated. We used to say vases, and now we have gotten to vase.
And the point of this, I think, when you said looking at it in different ways, I think the reality of what I'm starting to understand in this journey of corporate versus self-employment is that the two can coexist. There's no one or the other. The way you perceive it, what you see, is what you'll get. If for you, corporate, you're shackled by corporate like me.
I'm laughing at that comment that Aggie posted.
Let's ask her why it's based so vast. Kenyans will always be based, but if you're shackled, maybe if you look at another perspective, you'll see that other perspective that probably you haven't seen before. And I think that's what we're trying to push with this 4-week series, is to help people see that there's another side, help people see that they can coexist. It's not like one is bad and the other is good. They can coexist. You said it yourself. You got laid off, you got another job. You left that job, you got another job.
Another job.
Right? And who knows, maybe even someday you'll come back.
So someone called me for a job today.
And how did that make you feel?
So even though I was looking at the stability of it, because I was feeling very uncomfortable in entrepreneurship, I love the freedom. The freedom to be who I am. I can't even explain what that means. I don't even know if I can. I feel a thing when I say the freedom to be who I am. Most days, I know exactly who I am. What you see is what you get most days.
Yeah.
But I also want people to know that as a human, I am confidently walking around, but there are some times when I have conflicted emotions, because that's the human thing, right?
Yeah.
So as I walk out of my house, even though it was so funny right now when I got dressed, I said, it's the way I look, it's party on the top and No, business on the top and party on the bottom, because I'm wearing sweats. Like I'm wearing sweatpants, but then the top looks business, right? I have no qualms about that. I could stand up right now and I feel nothing, right? Whereas most people say, I would never stand up. It's not a thing for me.
There's no price.
I can't.
And Monga said it, there's no substitute for freedom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the freedom is not, it's not yet, I can't say it's time freedom. I can't say it's money freedom. I can't say it's family freedom. No, it's not that. It's just the internal knowing that I am just who I am. Because if you ask me, do I have all the money that I need? Absolutely not. Do I have all the time that I want? Absolutely not. Do I have, is my family exactly how I want it to be? It's not. It's just the freedom to be Jean Adero. That's a good feeling. Very good feeling.
Okay. Piera. Hey, Piera. Welcome.
Hey, G.
Hi.
Hey, Jean.
Hi.
Jean, I wanted to say thank you for your time. I have been on your radar for a while now, so this is such a pleasure to hear from you tonight. And the one thing that I really loved was how authentic and how vulnerably you shared tonight. I think a lot of people try to put up a front on, how they got it together, and just hearing it where there isn't anything that you're trying to prove that you're not, just being human, just being vulnerable. That was really, really great for me to hear. And the biggest takeaway for me being in corporate is I am a guest at my job. It's not my home. And so I'll be thinking and mulling over that all weekend. The one thing that I do have a question for is I've been interested in your Design Your Life class, and I think on the website doesn't have a lot of information. And so I was curious if you could share some insight on how you run it, like the length and stuff. I'm currently in Jacinta and Tabitha's class, so trying to be intentional with my time and not overcommit. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you are with Jacinta and Tabitha. And one of the things that I say about Design Your Life is it gives you an organized system of thought, right? And it's a roadmap. And the roadmap is divided into three. There's the mindset part. The next part is the message. What is your message for the world? Did you hear today when I was asked, what is the message? I knew it. I can say it backwards and forwards in different ways because I know exactly what I was born to do. And that's where you develop that message. And then the last thing is the mastermind. The mastermind is the connection, the circle that you build, and learning how to be a magnet for what you want, right? So the class is 12 weeks now. The first 5 weeks, I walk you from fear to faith, right? What are you afraid of is week 1. Week 2, how has the fear affected you? Week 3, have you ever written a story of how it ends? Week 4, do you know how to have faith? Believe it or not, there's a method, a very simple method on how to have faith. Because everyone knows that we need a mustard seed, but we keep saying, I need more faith, I need more faith. But it's mustard seed size. And if you Google the size of a mustard seed, it's really little. So I'll show you that method. And then week 5, I will help you stack your skills. Now, let me tell you what's the beautiful part about stacking your skills. Most people in corporate, they stack your skills based on all the good things you have done. My skill stacking started with bankruptcy. I am qualified to sit here today because I was bankrupt, right? And so I get you to talk about everything that has worked and everything that has failed and get those things together. So you take and you create a product so that when you show up in the world, no one can tell your story because you've already told it to them. Because shame spoken, as Dr. Brené Brown says, cannot survive. So that is the first part of the class. That is why you do not have, that's why I don't have imposter syndrome. I do not carry that mantle of having imposter syndrome because I stacked my skills, and everything terrible that happened to me and everything good that happened to me is wrapped up in one package, and that's what you're experiencing today, right? Once we've done that, It's nice to know all these things and have a fabulous mindset. But remember, I said your alignment between your habits and your actions must take place. So I teach you how to imagine it all so that you can create a plan on how to do it. That's the middle part. We're talking about decision making. And we're talking about persistence, which is where consistency lives. And then we start to talk about what does the actual plan look like? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis to make this happen? Right? And then the final part, we're talking about the mastermind. Because throughout this process, I am showing you how you are a magnet for everything that you want. Right now, when I tell you that I'm sitting in this space that is very uncomfortable because certain things are not working, I keep saying, but I am a magnet.
Mhm.
Question. So like when I'm in the shower, I'm like, how is this not working? Because I'm a magnet. What kind of magnet am I? So it always comes back to, I must change so that I can take this magnet, and this is what I have. Like this thing is my magnet to hold up my phone. Whenever I do this, it can stand. And I use this as a stand because it's a magnet. So I'm just like, I am this. Why don't I have this? That's a question I'm always asking myself. And that's the reason why I don't have imposter syndrome, because I know I am a magnet. When you know you're a magnet, you don't have problems. You question what's going on with this magnet. Why have I weakened this magnet? And then you're like, it's the way I'm thinking. So when I teach you how to do that, when you ask me, how did you get on Oprah's radar? Because I am a magnet. I literally thought about it. And then I asked myself, why hasn't Oprah called me? That I was sitting right here and I looked at it and I was like, why hasn't Oprah called me? And then I said, the next thought that came to my mind, in order for Oprah to call me, you have to make the channels open. I went to Oprah's website to see if all the notifications were checked. And I found out that I wasn't signed up to her newsletter. So I clicked the box, check, and then I hit save. And then in my head, I said, Oprah's gonna call me. And I moved on. The next day, Oprah's producer was there in my inbox. And I was talking to my assistant in Kenya and I said, this looks like a fraud. Right? Because there's an emotion that I teach about in the class when I'm teaching you about your mindset. In order to be a magnet, there's an emotion that has to, there's a corresponding emotion that has to be attached with it. So right now, that emotion is missing in my world. And for some reason, I am not magnetizing this thing. And I'm not mad. Let me tell you why. Because every single time this happens, I grow and then I'm able to teach it. So I'm just like, whatever. Worst case scenario, we'll have a good class.
You're able to grow because you're able to grow and teach it because you've experienced it.
I've experienced it. Yeah.
And not only have you experienced it, I like what you said, the Brene Brown, shame spoken cannot survive. You're vulnerable enough to say, hey, I don't have all, and Piera said it really well, right? You're like, I don't have all the answers. I don't know. In fact, I don't know what I'm doing. But there's an alignment that you have. There's this like, the only word I can use is purpose, because purpose is that like horizon. Like no matter which route you use, as long as your eye is on that horizon, no matter what goals you create to get to that horizon, no matter whether or not you'll meet those goals, that horizon doesn't move. And I think being grounded on that has given you so much power that being vulnerable, in fact, gives you more power than being that I know it all. I know, right? Just saying I don't know it actually gives you that power, and that's
yeah.
awesome.
Let me share something with you. I intentionally did not purpose to join the other sessions because I was going to listen to them. When I realized I was last, I was like, oh no, don't listen to them. Why? Because I know there's a part of me that is still very tender.
Yeah.
And it can be affected by what other people say. For example, let's say I had logged into Leo's session and the things that are not working in my life were working in his.
Yeah.
I knew that it would shake the way I show up because I know who I am. right? And I wanted to come in and just be who I am, as I am, so that I give what I came to give, right? And what that is sometimes it shows up as jealousy, sometimes it shows up as envy, sometimes it shows up as low self-esteem. It can come in many different ways when you hear someone who has the thing that you want and you don't have it.
Okay.
Right? And I didn't know which one of them would have it. Like, it could have been Monga, it could have been Jane, right? But then I said, part of the reason I remained out of it is because I know conceptually that jealousy and envy and low self-esteem as a result of seeing what other people are doing lives in admiration. You literally admire those people. And if you could just go to them and say, I admire you, you would not be envious.
Okay, I've recorded that, but I wish you could say it again. Jealousy.
Jealousy and envy, their
Yeah.
root is admiration. The human who is whole sees something that they don't have and they like it. Then they start saying, why don't I have it? Why do they have it and I don't have it? That's the weak side, the part that is unhealed. But the essence of who you are likes it. And if you could just go up to that person and say, oh my goodness, I admire you, it would disappear.
Yo. Okay, this. Oh, wait. Yeah. All of them.
Let me tell you, learning that has been and then some people tell me, I'm not jealous. And I'm like, seriously? I saw you sneering at that person's Facebook profile. And then you're like, but I was by myself. Everybody does it. They post too much. They show too much of their vacation. They did it. All their life is good. They don't show us any side that's not working. That's usually from envy and jealousy. But what you're just trying to say, I admire that you have a snapshot of your life that looks so good.
Yeah.
And if I could just tell you, I wish I had the courage to post the beautiful snapshots of my life.
Wow.
That's really all it is.
Where are the cavities in those smiles? Got it. Okay. We are like, it's 10:37.
Oh my God.
Yes. Okay. Some people have dropped, but I still have Agi, Brenda, Catherine,
Yeah.
Christine, Eva, Eve, Gilo, Irene, Jean, Carl, Diana is here, Lynn, your sister is here, Marcy, Nancy, Piera. Like, you have a lot of people. Susie, my sister, shout out. Joyce, corporate, team corporate, say something.
Which
something.
Joyce is here? Do I know Joyce? I can't see.
You know Joyce. Joyce with the
Which
wonderful
girl
voice,
you
with
know,
the singing voice. Remember Joyce?
Oh, Joyce. Joyce,
Yeah,
right.
with that voice, remember?
Joyce, right. Of course I know Joyce.
We're the corporate people who are becoming. I told Dr. Ichi, I said, it's like Michelle Obama, right? She has a book written of becoming. Maybe for corporate people, we're just becoming. We're inching to find our power into who we are, you know?
Here's the thing I want corporate people to know. You do it so well. I mean, I have some friends in corporate, close friends, and they do it so well. There's some people who were born to build other people's things very well. And I think, of course, you know the summary. If I was to ask us to summarize, how does this end? And I'm like, who the heck cares? Do you? That's my summary of it. Do you? Do corporate until it's time to do entrepreneurship. Or do corporate for the rest of your life. Or whatever. You can order it in however you want. Nobody cares except you.
It's about you. And I think most people now, over the last 4 weeks, have received enough information to have perhaps an educated way of saying, okay, now how do I do me and where do I belong? I think when Piera said, one of the most profound things was that I'm a guest. If you're feeling like you're a guest, or you're feeling like you're not included, or you're feeling you're not the chosen one, then maybe you have to consider this decision or reconsider this decision and think about it very deeply.
Yeah, Dr.
Wow.
Ichi, I think what Jean said that was powerful is it needs to align with your soul, who you are in your soul,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I think what corporate offers is sometimes it's just the niche of your skill that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not into the HR
Mhm.
and the marketing. I just want to do tech, right? And that's your soul, and that's what gives you joy. That's okay, as
Mhm.
long as it aligns with your spirit,
It
right?
really is. It really is. The worst thing the last thing I'd want to do is to make someone think that they should jump ship and become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing at all. And corporate is not easy either. The navigating of the political correctness and the everything that you have to put a lot of things in line. And that's why I'm impressed by people who do it well.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that you have to remember, especially at the highest level, when you're not just the direct when you have a team.
Yeah.
A lot that it takes a lot out of you. And then you also have the entrepreneurial mindset for your team, so that your team can continue to you sell their services to the greater organization. That's not an easy job.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that was interesting with a lot of the people who we talked to over the last few weeks was that corporate helped train them into
Oh.
their business. Did you feel that way too?
Oh, I'm just about to start a series on my LinkedIn profile about this girl who has done just that. She came in to design your life. And she said to me, I sent out an email and I said, most women come to me when it's about to fall apart.
Yeah.
I wish they would come before it all falls apart. And she listened. It was in March last year. She joined my class in June. And she came in and she literally took everything that her corporate job has given her for the last 25 years. And she has turned it to who she's going to be after she leaves. The coolest part about it is she still has the job to pay for my class. And she had the job to pay for she still had the money to pay for the branding. She still had the comfort to go and talk to people within her organization and figure out how she's going to do it. That's the beauty of doing that while you're still inside the corporation and things are going well. Most people don't wait. Catherine Adero is one of the people who stayed too long, and I know she doesn't even care that I'm saying this. She stayed way too long in the corporate space. And I remember how hard it was for her.
Yeah.
The sooner you do it, find out who you are, whether you're staying or you're leaving. You don't have to leave immediately. Just get it done where you wake up every morning knowing who you are.
Okay.
Mhm.
We'll wrap it up here, but before we wrap it up, Africa. When is it happening? Am I invited?
Oh,
Can I come?
by the way, I am really thinking about how we're going to engage men.
Yes.
Rosemary said, of course he's coming, remember? It's like, what are you asking? Of course he's coming. So we're going to have to figure out how to do it. I Am Africa Nairobi just moved to October 2nd to the 8th. It was supposed to be in March, right? And then I Am Africa Atlanta is August 9th to 11th. The links to those are going to go out on Monday.
Okay.
You'll be able to start buying your tickets on Monday, right?
So to that point, I think the last, at least with Monga and Jane, they talked about like their businesses geared toward women. For you, for design your life, like is it just for women, or can men enroll?
No, I have had 2 classes with men and they were
Okay.
fabulous. Men are so different in a good way. They come in for what they came for, and those are the only classes that would end early. We would end at like 10:20 because we start at 9 p.m.
Uh-huh.
They were amazing. And I think for the people whose So I have some people who came in as the wife first, and then the husband came. Their lives are significantly different because they are, as a couple, aligned.
Yeah.
Right? So that has been a good thing. But the men who came just on their own have really done well. It's challenging to put together a man's class because you don't know when they're going to show up. Women just are always in the pipeline. But
Okay.
men, I'm not really sure. I have a class for humans. I separate the sexes because of the way we have been socialized.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the only reason. Otherwise, I would have a class for humans.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
10:45. Any last questions? Like you have Jean. This is your chance to ask any last questions. And by the way, we have a guy over here. Gilo is here.
By the way, you know Gilbert is my cousin. Do you know that?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Gilo, I've known him for like 40.
From my Lego side.
How many years?
Which road that they're on, those are my relatives. So we're gonna include Kare. Kare is gonna be my relative as well now, because those are all my relatives. Yeah,
Cousin.
actually he's my cousin. That one is my cousin. He's from Alego, and my mother is from Alego.
Okay.
So he's on. Yeah, we share. No, this is what I was going to say. For those of you who are interested in Design Your Life, just go to jeanadero.com and book 30 minutes with me. It's not that you have to join the class when you sign up, when you talk to me. No, that is not the intention. I'd love for you to join, but talk to me so that we can figure out where you are, right? Yeah. Don't sit in it by yourself waiting to have the $4,000 to pay for the class. No, that's not smart. If you are actually going through something, just a conversation might guide you to think about something now, and then whenever you're ready, you can come in. So please go to jeanadero.com, and when you click on the coaching tab, you will see a link to my calendar, or it's jeanadero.com/calendar.
So
this is going to be very fast. I'm usually one of those that ask, and Jean will be surprised that this question will take 10 seconds. Jean, I have a network, and I think other people have a network of people who may be African American and others from the diaspora. What are some of the things that they can get involved in some of your classes? I do have some in the network. Please advise.
So you can come in through, I have two classes called, one's Design Your Life and one is Dream Your Life. Dream Your Life is writing the dream. Design Your Life is actually walking through into the dream and building something. And then I also have a business mastermind that's starting called Double Your Life as well. But that's for people who have taken either Dream Your Life or Design Your Life, and they're on their way in business, right? Now, I Am Africa is a great place to start. For African American women, we have a retreat to Kenya, and that's what's going to happen in October. So they're welcome to come for that. And I'll be updating the link on that to match the dates. And for those who are not traveling to Kenya, I Am Africa Atlanta is the place to be, because that's where you will meet the community, and it is wonderful. It is just unbelievably good. So I can't wait to do the Kenya one, because it'll be open to African Americans. Will be there, and for the first time, maybe the second time, we'll be meeting as sisters. But I think that's a good avenue to start with. If not any of those, I'm on Facebook Live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 8 o'clock on Tuesday and Thursday, and on Saturday morning at 9. I'll be back on Thursday, February 1st. I just decided to take some time out for me.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ichi, I want to thank you for doing this. This is a very important conversation. I wish I had it when I was coasting, right? Susan and I challenged you to find a space. When you asked us, so what's next? We were like, you tell us. And you told us. You told us. Continue to go in your heart for what's coming up for you, and you'll figure it out.
I said at the top of the call, she's my mentor and she doesn't even know it. And I remember that conversation. I remember every conversation we've had. I always get off the call and I'm like, wait, what?
I do that.
Right? Like, what? Oh, okay. Right? So I think Joyce has summarized it really well here. She said, Jean, thank you as always for investing in others. I love the pearls of wisdom you always share. You inspire us to be the highest expression of ourselves.
Yes. And as I grow, I will make sure that we all grow. And I experience the same thing. This is an indication of you growing. Remember, you just joined Facebook 3 weeks ago. You joined Facebook 3 weeks ago, and you are doing well. And just continue to speak it. I didn't wake up like this. I've been doing Facebook Live for 7 years now. That's a long time. It was 7 years ago in February when someone asked me, Lisa Nichols made me do it, and I've been doing it. And I have refined my message. I did that so that I could refine my message. And 7 years later, I'm still learning what my message is, right? So keep doing it. I appreciate all of it. I really do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you all. I mean, I know we normally set this up for an hour, but we always go over time. I still haven't, figured that thing out, because at the end of the day, this is an opportunity for everyone who's out there and trying to figure out this thing for themselves.
Yeah.
To have information from all these different people so that they can chart their path. So, Jean, you told me, let me know, and I let you know, and you came. And for that, I'm really appreciative. For the rest of you who joined the meeting, thank you so much. I'll put my notes, I'll upload the recording, and we're going to design our life, dream our life, and we'll double our life. About that.
Yeah, I appreciate everything, and see you on some other time. Have a wonderful evening.
See you, Jean.
Bye.